The starship was a marvel of human engineering. It sliced through the inky blackness between galaxies. Its destination, the Andromeda Galaxy. This was a journey of unprecedented scale. Years it had travelled, light years it had crossed. The ship was a tiny bubble of life and warmth. Outside, the vacuum stretched, cold and unforgiving. Inside, systems hummed with quiet efficiency. Humanity had reached out, further than ever before. They represented that bold ambition. It was a testament to the relentless curiosity of a species that had once only gazed at the stars from a single small world, dreaming of what lay beyond their immediate grasp and understanding. The ship was currently traversing the vast dark gulf that separated the Milky Way from its majestic spiral neighbour Andromeda. This region was mostly empty. Stars were few and far between. The sense of isolation was profound. Captain Elena Voss felt it every cycle. She knew the weight of her command, the lives of her crew, the success of their mission, all rested on her shoulders. The ship itself was a complex ecosystem. It recycled air and water. It grew its own food. It was a self-contained world, a miniature Earth hurled into the cosmic ocean. The journey was long and the silence of space could press in, a constant reminder of their immense distance from home and all they held dear. On the bridge, instruments glowed with soft light. They monitored the ship's health. They scanned the void ahead. Most of the time, the readings were predictable. Space in its grandness was often monotonous in its emptiness between points of interest. The crew followed routines. They performed their duties. They maintained their vigilance. But deep space always held the potential for surprise. That was its allure. That was its danger. It was built for endurance. It was built for discovery. It was humanity's hopeful spear, thrown into the heart of the unknown, seeking answers to questions as old as thought itself. The mission's primary objective was long-range reconnaissance, to study Andromeda, to learn more about galactic formation and evolution, perhaps even to find signs of life. That last hope was always there, a quiet hum beneath the surface of their scientific endeavours. For now, however, they were alone, utterly alone, or so they believed. The ship continued its silent passage. Each passing moment took them further from their origins. Each sensor sweep searched the darkness. The universe was vast, and there was but a small explorer in its endless expanse, carrying the dreams and aspirations of an entire planet on its voyage. Captain Elena Voss was reviewing stellar cartography data. The patterns of distant ancient light were usually soothing. Her console displayed the familiar starfields. Suddenly, a new icon flashed. It was an alert, not a system malfunction, not a navigational hazard. It was something else, an anomalous signal, faint, yet distinct. It was unlike anything she had encountered before. It was structured, it pulsed with an unnatural rhythm. Her heart rate quickened. This was not random cosmic noise. This was something directed, something with intent. The solitude of the void had just been broken by a whisper. The signal was weak, almost lost in the background radiation of the universe, but the S-advanced sensors had snagged it. Elena focused the ship's main array. She amplified the signal. The pattern became clearer. It was complex. It was not a language she recognized, yet it felt intelligent. It was a beacon, perhaps, or a distress call, or something far stranger. Her training kicked in. Isolate, analyze, verify. The coordinates were vague at first. The source was somewhere in the direction of Andromeda, but not from within the galaxy itself. It seemed to emanate from a point in the deep intergalactic medium, a place where nothing significant was charted. This was the moment every deep space explorer dreamed of and dreaded, the first undeniable proof of non-human intelligence. But it was also a moment fraught with peril. What was the nature of this signal? Who or what had sent it? Were they friendly, hostile, indifferent? The questions flooded her mind. She took a deep breath. She needed her crew. This was too big for one person to handle. The ship's protocols were clear. First contact procedures were extensive, drilled into them repeatedly. But drills were one thing. The reality, now pulsing on her screen, was another entirely. The universe had just spoken. She activated the internal comms system. Her voice, usually calm and measured, carried a new urgency.
Dr. Reyes, Commander Torek, Engineer Zhang, report to the bridge immediately.
There was no need for further explanation yet. They would see it for themselves. The signal continued its rhythmic pulse. It was a heartbeat in the darkness, a heartbeat that was not human, a heartbeat that promised to change the course of human history forever. Dr. Kieran Reyes, the ship's xenolinguist and biologist, was the first to arrive. His eyes, usually alight with academic curiosity, widened as he saw the signal displayed on the main view screen. He moved closer, his gaze intent.
"Captain, what is that?"
he asked, his voice a hushed whisper. He recognized the patterns of artificiality instantly. This was no natural phenomenon. This was crafted. The implications were staggering. All his years of studying theoretical alien languages, of hypothesizing about extraterrestrial communication, were now converging on this single pulsing light on a screen. He felt a thrill mixed with a profound sense of awe. Commander Jax Torek, head of security and second-in-command, entered next. His demeanor was, as always, more guarded, his eyes scanning the bridge, assessing the situation. He saw the signal, then looked to Voss. He inquired, his tone professional. Jax was a pragmatist. He thought in terms of threat assessment and tactical response. An unknown signal from an unknown source was, to him, a potential danger until proven otherwise. His hand instinctively hovered near the controls for the ship's defensive systems, a subtle but clear indication of his readiness to protect the vessel and its crew from any unforeseen hostility. Engineer Li Mei Jiang, responsible for the ship's engines and complex systems, was the last to join them. Her brow furrowed in concentration as she absorbed the data streams. She asked, already thinking about the energy signature, the possible technology behind such a transmission across such vast distances. Li Mei saw the universe in terms of physics and engineering. To her, this signal was a puzzle, a marvel of alien technology that demanded to be understood. How could such a signal be generated? What power source could sustain it? Her mind raced with calculations and possibilities, eager to dissect its technical secrets.
I detected it 10 minutes ago. It's an artificial signal, origin unknown, but localized to a sector approximately 3 light weeks from our current position.
She pointed to a blinking marker on the star chart.
It's not from Andromeda. It appears to be emanating from a rogue object, something uncatalogued.
The team was assembled, the scientist, the soldier, the engineer. Each brought a unique perspective. Each understood the gravity of the moment. Humanity was on the cusp of a revelation. Their shared gaze was fixed on the mysterious transmission, a silent question mark hanging in the void. The decision was unanimous. They had to investigate. This was the very purpose of their mission, to explore the unknown, to push the boundaries of human knowledge. Captain Voss ordered a course correction. They altered its trajectory, its powerful engines gently nudging it towards the source of the enigmatic signal. 3 light weeks was a significant distance, even for a ship capable of traversing interstellar space. It would take them several standard days at their current cruising velocity. The anticipation on board was palpable. Every crew member felt the shift, the change in the mission's tempo from patient observation to active pursuit. As they journeyed, Dr. Reyes worked tirelessly to decipher the signal. It was not a language in the human sense. It was more like a complex mathematical sequence, interwoven with what seemed to be emotional signifiers.
"It's a lament," he announced after many hours of analysis. "A message of sorrow, perhaps of warning. And it repeats, a desperate loop."
This new information added another layer of mystery and a touch of foreboding. What tragedy had befallen the senders? What warning were they trying to convey across the desolate expanse of intergalactic space? The crew's curiosity was now tinged with a growing sense of unease. Commander Torek ensured all ship systems were at peak readiness. Defensive shields were energized to a standby level. Weapon systems were powered up, though not targeted.
"Standard procedure for encountering an unknown entity, Captain," he reported. "We approach with caution, prepared for any eventuality."
His calm professionalism was a steadying influence, a reminder that while they sought knowledge, they also had to prioritize their safety. The unknown could be wondrous, but it could also be dangerous. They were venturing into a situation with no precedent, relying on their training and their technology to see them through whatever lay ahead. Finally, after days of travel through the empty void, their long-range sensors picked it up. A rogue planet, drifting alone, far from any star. It was dark and cold, as expected. But there was something else, something impossible. Around the planet, like a delicate luminous halo, was an artificial ring. It glowed with a soft internal light. It was clearly not natural. This was the source of the signal. A solitary, sunless world, encircled by a feat of engineering that dwarfed anything humanity had ever conceived. This slowed its approach, its crew staring in silent awe at the spectacle before them. Section 5. First Contact. The Icy World and its Silent Keepers. They entered a high orbit around the rogue planet. Scans revealed a surface entirely covered in ice. Temperatures were near absolute zero, no atmosphere to speak of. Yet, the artificial ring pulsed with energy. It was an incredible structure, miles wide, perfectly symmetrical.
The ring is the source of the signal, and it's also generating a localized energy field around a specific region on the planet's surface. There's something down there, something shielded, something active.
The mystery deepened. What could survive on such a world? What was the purpose of such a magnificent, isolated construct?
We need to send a landing party. I'll lead it myself, accompanied by Dr. Reyes and Commander Torek. Li Mei, you stay on the, monitor our progress and provide support from orbit.
They boarded the shuttle, the descent was eerie. They passed through the glowing energies of the ring, then down towards the dark, frozen surface. The landing site identified by Li Mei was a relatively flat plain of ice, but even from orbit they could see strange geometric patterns beneath the frozen crust, hinting at something buried, something ancient. Stepping onto the planet was like stepping into a frozen tomb. The cold was intense, even through their advanced environmental suits. The only light came from their helmet lamps and the ethereal glow of the ring high above, casting long, strange shadows. Before them, partially submerged in the ice, were ruins, structures, buildings, not human. Their architecture was alien, graceful yet sorrowful. They were ancient, clearly worn by eons of exposure to the harshness of this sunless environment. It was a city of ghosts, preserved in ice, a silent testament to a lost civilization that had once thrived here. Then they saw them, figures, humanoid yet distinctly alien. They were pale, almost translucent, with large, dark eyes. They stood motionless amongst the ruins, watching the human explorers. They did not move, they did not speak. They simply observed, their presence creating an atmosphere of profound melancholy. There were dozens of them, perhaps hundreds scattered throughout the icy landscape. They were like statues, frozen in time, their unblinking gaze fixed upon the newcomers.
They look like they're waiting for something, or someone.
The silence of the watchers was more unnerving than any overt display of hostility could have been. The landing party moved cautiously through the frozen city. The alien structures were breathtaking, even in their ruined state. Towers pierced the ice, their forms elegant and complex. Walls were adorned with intricate carvings, depicting scenes of a life they could only imagine. It was clear this had once been a vibrant, advanced civilization. Now it was a mausoleum.
The pale humanoids remained still, their eyes following us. They offered no resistance, no greeting. Their silence was a heavy cloak over the dead city.
Commander Torek kept his hand near his sidearm, his senses on high alert, but the beings exuded an aura of deep sadness, not aggression. Dr. Reyes used his scanners, trying to gather data on the humanoids and the ruins.
Their biology is unlike anything I've ever theorized. They seem to be in some kind of stasis, yet aware. The ambient temperature is incredibly low. I don't understand how they survive without external heat sources.
The ruins themselves hummed with a faint energy signature, almost undetectable. It was as if the city itself was faintly breathing, a lingering echo of its past glory. The technology here was far beyond human comprehension, subtle and deeply integrated into the very fabric of the structures.
Eleanor felt a profound sense of sorrow permeate the air. This was not just a collection of old buildings, it was the grave of an entire people. What catastrophe had befallen them? Why were these few survivors here watching in silent vigil? The scale of the loss was unimaginable.
The artistry in the ruins spoke of a culture rich in beauty and intellect. To see it all reduced to this frozen wasteland, guarded by silent, sorrowful figures, was a deeply moving experience. It was a stark reminder of the fragility of civilization, no matter how advanced it might become. Even stars died, and so too, it seemed, did the ambitions of those who reached for them.
As they ventured deeper into the heart of the ruined city, towards a central plaza pinpointed by Li Mei's orbital scans as a focal point of energy, one of the pale figures finally moved. It was slow, deliberate. It did not approach them directly, but turned and gestured towards a large, intact structure at the center of the plaza. This building was different from the others, seemingly less damaged, and it pulsed with a slightly stronger energy signature. The other humanoids remained still, but their gaze seemed to focus on the path the gesturing figure had indicated. It was an invitation, or perhaps a summons.
The human team entered the central structure. Inside, the temperature was marginally less frigid, and the light was brighter, emanating from glowing panels in the walls. The interior was vast, a single enormous chamber. In the center stood a complex device, a latticework of unknown metals and crystalline components, humming with contained power. And before it stood another alien, different from the pale watchers outside. This one was taller, more slender, and seemed to shimmer with an internal luminescence. It regarded them with ancient wise eyes.
I am Seraph.
The alien communicated, its voice not heard but felt, a gentle resonance within their minds. Telepathy. Seraph explained the history of its people, the Krell. They were an ancient race, explorers and scientists who had mastered technologies far beyond human understanding. They had built the Ring, a marvel of engineering that sustained their last city. But their star had died unexpectedly. Their civilization had dwindled. The Pale Watchers outside were the last vestiges of the populace, held in a kind of conscious cryostasis, their minds linked, preserving their collective memory. Seraph was the last active member, the caretaker of their final legacy, sustained by the very device before them. It was a story of immense achievement and ultimate tragedy.
Our time is at an end. This world is dying. The Ring cannot sustain us indefinitely. But we have one last hope. Not for ourselves, but for the knowledge we have gathered, for the continuation of sentient thought in the universe.
Seraph gestured towards the intricate device.
This is a dimensional gateway, a portal to other universes, other realities. It is our final creation, our attempt to send our legacy beyond the confines of this dying cosmos.
The scope of their ambition, even in death, was breathtaking to the human crew. The device, Seraph explained, required a unique catalyst to activate it for its intended purpose. A conscious, willing mind to navigate the initial jump, to bridge the cosmic gap. The Krell minds were too attuned to their own fading reality, too steeped in their collective sorrow to make such a journey. Their own attempts had failed.
We detected your ship, your vibrant, curious minds. A human mind, with its unique blend of logic and emotion, its adaptability, its inherent drive to explore, it might be the key. One of you could open the way, not just for our knowledge to pass through, but for your own kind to one day follow, to leap beyond.
Captain Eleanor Voss looked at her crew. She saw the awe in Kieran's eyes, the grim understanding in Jax's, the calculated assessment in Li Mei's, who was listening via comms. The weight of Seraph's request was immense, a human mind, one of them. It was a sacrifice, clearly. The Krell had not explicitly stated the consequences for the individual, but the implication was there. To merge with such a device, to navigate transdimensional space, was not something one simply walked away from.
Elena felt the profound responsibility of her command, but also a deeper, more personal calling. This was a moment that transcended ordinary human experience. She thought of Earth, of humanity, still young, still reaching. This technology, this knowledge could propel them centuries, millennia forward. It could open up not just new worlds, but new universes. The potential was limitless, but the cost was high.
She looked at Kieran, his life dedicated to understanding the other. She looked at Jax, a protector, a guardian. She looked at the image of Li Mei on her wrist display, brilliant and resourceful, They all had so much more to give. Her own path as a captain had always been one of service, of putting the mission and her crew first. This felt like the ultimate extension of that duty. Eleanor said, her voice firm, echoing slightly in the vast chamber. There were immediate protests from her crew, but she raised a hand.
This is a captain's decision, my decision.
She turned to Seraph. The luminous alien inclined its head, a gesture of solemn respect.
You must interface with the core. Allow your consciousness to become the conduit. Your thoughts, your will guide the initial breach. It will be transformative.
Transformative. A euphemism, Eleanor knew, for something irreversible. She took off her helmet, breathing in the cold, thin air of the alien chamber, her gaze fixed on the pulsating heart of the machine. She stepped onto the platform before the device. Tendrils of light and energy reached out from it, gently, tentatively, as if sensing her intent. She closed her eyes, focusing her mind, her memories, her hopes for humanity. She thought of the blue skies of Earth, the vastness of space she had explored, the faces of her crew. Then she opened herself to the machine. There was a blinding flash of light, a roaring sound that was not a sound, and an immense pressure as if her very being was being unmade and remade. Elena Voss, captain of thee, became something more, something other. The portal blazed into existence, a swirling vortex of colours unknown to human eyes. The portal stabilized, a shimmering gateway to an unknown elsewhere. Seraph gestured towards it.
The way is open. Our knowledge will pass through, and for your people a path to countless new beginnings.
Dr. Reyes and Commander Torek stood in stunned silence, grief and awe warring within them. Elena was gone, absorbed into the light, her sacrifice the key. They had witnessed something monumental, something that would forever alter humanity's understanding of its place in the cosmos. The Krell's legacy was secured, and a new path for humanity had been forged at an immense personal cost. With heavy hearts, Kieran and Jax collected the data crystals Seraph offered, archives of Krell knowledge, and made their way back to the shuttle. Li Mei's voice over the comms was strained, filled with sorrow for her lost captain and friend. The return journey to them was subdued. The rogue planet, with its artificial ring and its silent, watching inhabitants, receded behind them. The portal remained, a new star in the darkness, a testament to Elena's courage. They had come seeking knowledge and had found a destiny far greater and more profound than they could have ever imagined. The silence on the bridge was thick with unspoken emotions.
The journey back to Earth was long. The, once a symbol of exploration, now carried a heavier burden. The knowledge of other universes, of ancient alien races, and the memory of their captain's sacrifice. Kieran, Jax, and Li Mei were changed. They had seen wonders and sorrows beyond human comprehension. They knew humanity was not alone, not by a vast measure. They understood that the universe was infinitely larger and more complex than previously conceived. This knowledge was a gift, but also a profound responsibility. How would Earth react to such a revelation?
When they finally returned to Earth, its mission logs and the Krell data archives sparked a revolution in human thought and science. Humanity learned of Elena Voss's cosmic sacrifice. She became a legend, a symbol of ultimate dedication. The world mourned her, but also celebrated the incredible new possibilities she had unlocked. The portal, studied from afar, became a beacon of hope and a new frontier. Humanity stood on the precipice of an entirely new era, looking out not just at the stars in their own universe, but at the infinite horizons beyond. All thanks to the courage of one captain and her crew and the last gift of a dying alien race.